It's been a couple months since Gotham Knights came out, and after completing it, my opinion on the game has changed. I was pretty generous in my initial review. However, now that I've seen the full picture and sat on my opinion for a while, it's time to lay out what I think this game's 3 biggest problems are. These are problems that just got under my skin. From stuff that was already obvious in the marketing, all the way to how the game ends. So, without further ado, let's beat this dead horse. This one needs to be talked about first, just to get it out of the way: the traversal. The one thing everyone groaned about when they first saw gameplay. It looked weird then, and it played exactly like we feared. I guess there is some fun in the sheer oddity of it all. Robin teleporting, Jason jumping off magic air, and Nightwing riding the slowest, weakest Fortnite glider of all time. It's kind of funny how unexpected and out of place it feels. Oh, Barbara can glide like you'd expect, but it controls like a car with dog shit for wheels. The point is, I don't think this game did itself any favors with any of its traversal, and for an open world, that's a massive problem. You've probably heard all the complaints before. The grappling feels too samey each time, and really doesn't feel like grappling at all. It's essentially web zipping, and the animation is always the same for each character. While on the topic, I want to say that I did appreciate how acrobatic this game made all the characters, especially that crazy circus boy. Everyone's flipping around, and not just a stiff, broad-shouldered hunk of meat. However, even the bike sucks. It's just boring to control and feels largely irrelevant once you unlock the character-specific traversal. So that's everything from advanced, basic, and vehicle traversal that is just a big whiff. Hell, if they gave Nightwing a glider, they should have just made some small bat jet bike thing that everyone could fly around on instead of, or in addition to, the motorcycle. Why not just give the characters a sky cycle? It would at the very least be an interesting feature, and nowhere near as outlandish as the other traversal forms. This has gone down a strange path, but I think the traversal is just one big, ugly blemish easily visible on this game's surface. I don't even think the overall gameplay is bad. The combat can feel repetitive, but there's just enough to keep it engaging alongside the variety of enemy types. Although, if I ever face one of those engineer dudes with the drones again, I'm ripping their head off. Traversal, on the other hand, is such a large and visible portion of the gameplay that if it feels off in every aspect, then the game has a huge, frustrating problem. This is the shortest section of this video. Now brace yourself for some well thought out, dare I say, provocative insights. The side missions are poopy. Poopy, stinky, winky, duty. Wanna know why? There are 3 of them. Let me stress that again. This entire game is all just open world time wasting, the main plot, which isn't that meaty, and only 3 side missions. There are 4 main characters! Now maybe I'm just some dumb sucker who everyone thinks is sexy, but I like to play story-driven games like this as if I'm in a story. When presented with side missions in this game, missions that are like mini arcs for some villains not involved in the main plot, I was thrilled. You can go back and listen to my original review. The Harley side mission had me hyped, although that ended up being the most disappointing. Anyway, I see this and I'm thinking, Red Hood and Harley are an interesting matchup. Harley has some Red Hood specific dialogue. This could be a fun Red Hood story to explore. So that's what I did. Only Red Hood went on Harley Quinn missions in my playthrough. I liked that. I thought it was something charming about the game. It's an ensemble story that allows for the player to still dedicate time to the individual characters. But if that's not how you want to play, you don't have to. Completely optional, and that's great. So I did the same with the next 2 missions that came up. Nightwing handled Mr. Freeze, and Batgirl handled Clayface. Robin handled nobody. Tim didn't get his own mission. Sure, it's not like the game purposely went out of its way to do that. It just turns out the game wasn't designed with the 4 playable characters in mind. At a certain point in the game, you realize, oh, this isn't what it should be. Certainly, if making a game with these playable characters was a passion of the studio, someone would have had the thought, hey, if we want players to explore all 4 characters equally, we should make 1 more side mission. You want an easy one? Here's an easy one. Man-Bat. Man-Bat is surprisingly integral to the League's plan, and Man-Bats become a relatively common mini-boss toward the end of the game. So the mechanics are already built. How about after their reveal in the main story, Kirk Langstrom's wife, Francine, begins terrorizing the city as a hyper-intelligent woo-man bat, and there's a short campaign to stop her. Doesn't seem like it would require as much additional effort as adding a totally new character, it fits with the established world, and would help round out an otherwise empty-feeling game. Am I being a presumptuous ass? Yeah, I think that I am. But I'm in too deep and I can't stop now, so let me calm down. My real point with all this side mission stuff isn't that, oh man, I didn't get to play make-believe the right way with my toys. Instead, I think it's emblematic of a much more significant and game-breaking problem. It doesn't feel like the game really understood the opportunity it had to be something great. It feels that way because it doesn't make use of the ensemble playable characters in any meaningful way. It has nothing to say with them. They are treated interchangeably. Now, of course, there are notable differences in their playthroughs, but nearly all of that involves gameplay or cosmetics. Within the story, there are some dialogue changes, there's even some light interplayable character drama, but when it comes to the heart of the story, it doesn't even matter that all of them are together. It feels like the main story could just be any of their individual stories, but not their shared story. I don't think there's a better example of this heartbreaking failure than how the story ends. Spoilers incoming, so get out of here if you're a baby. Batman's back by the end. Big surprise, right? The game immediately introduces us to Batman in the context of the League of Assassins. The main assassin lady is running around causing problems the whole story, and Lazarus Pits are mentioned 5 million times. Hell, the central conflict is about two freak cults fighting for life juice. Didn't take a genius to figure out Batman was coming back. Even when it was first revealed he would be dead in this game, people were immediately asking, yeah, but for how long? So do I absolutely hate this? Actually, no. I felt it was the most predictable twist imaginable, and the main characters must have holes in their brains for not even considering it as a possibility, but I think this game somewhat pulled it off. It all came down to how that twist was utilized, and there are aspects I appreciated. When I went to do this mission, I didn't even know I was entering the final level. For main story missions, I tried to alternate between each character to give everyone equal story time, and that meant Red Hood was my dude going into this finale. And honestly, I think that was a really happy coincidence. Jason's conflict with Talia al Ghul reanimating Bruce, just like how she reanimated him, and bringing this lost father figure back into the light, is an incredible reversal of the Jason and Bruce story, and I found it refreshing. Thematically, I don't think any of the other characters were better suited for this finale than Jason Todd. It's a bit forced that Batman dies again, but I'd rather that than he's just back and the whole driving force of the game is rendered pointless by the end. So, what's my problem with all this? Well, this game is Gotham Knights, not Red Hood faces Daddy. Where the hell are the other characters in this finale? They won't shut up over the communicator throughout the game, but now, seeing Bruce alive, no one's got anything to say? I'm not even asking for the other playable characters to physically be in the level and see Bruce. I understand that's not how this game operates, but we can't get at least one line from each of them being like, oh shit, Daddy is alive! Okay, maybe that would throw off the drama of this finale. They do use the communicator being cut off trope in like every major level too, so I can even accept that. But what happens in the aftermath of the boss fight is unforgivable and feels like a smack to the face. Batman explodes, saving the day one last time, then we cut to a rooftop with your playable character just monologuing. Court of Owls, Talia, blah blah. Then we cut to the interior of the Belfry, you know, the hub of this game, where the playable character is completely alone. Not even Alfred is around. The monologue continues, confirming Batman's death. Then it cuts to that character's big message to the city, talking about still taking down the court, fighting for the city, whatever. The character even makes a promise, but the promise is completely self-centered. I will do this. I promise I will make this city safe. Then, big dramatic lookout over Gotham alone, and the game just ends. From the moment you see the Lazarus Pit up through the conclusion, all the other characters cease to exist except the one you chose to play as just for the final level. This is supposed to be a story about 4 apprentices becoming masters in their own right, but that is completely scrapped in the finale through a rushed monologue sequence that amounts to absolutely nothing. For real, the dialogue is just statement of fact to provide some vague sense of closure, and then unoriginal promises. Oh, Red Hood is gonna keep protecting Gotham like how he's already been protecting Gotham? Good thing you hacked everyone's phones to make that announcement, you narcissistic twat. But the most egregious, unforgivable part of this entire finale is that you are completely alone in the Belfry. Why? Not once in the entire game has a character ever been alone there. Why couldn't everyone have some final moment together? Why couldn't the horribly lame announcement to the city be a family message? There's no reason. The game completely drops the one thing that it built its entire identity around for some half-assed ending to a story they clearly didn't know how to wrap up. If you're a die-hard defender of this game, you may be screaming at me right now about the secret ending. For those of you who don't know, once you beat the game, you can watch a cutscene of Bruce being interrupted by all 4 Gotham Knights during the recording of his death video from the beginning. It's honestly a great scene that shows off the family dynamic, and it's a bittersweet moment to reflect on after the events of this game. I have no problem with that cutscene. My specific issue is that it has absolutely nothing to do with the adventure these characters have gone on, and shouldn't be relied on as part of the conclusion. It's really cute and great to see everyone together, but choosing to end with a flashback provides no closure. By doing this, by relying on some strange pseudo-nostalgia instead of a cohesive finale that actually wraps up the journey we've been on, the game makes it clear that it has nothing to say. The journey itself was pointless. Merely an excuse for gameplay, simply a conduit for the player to step into 100 boots. It feels as though the story doesn't wrap up at the natural ending because it was ultimately superfluous to the mission of the game. It feels like there was never a goal to tell a good story, something meaningful that would reward the player for seeing it to its end. Instead, we are merely told that, yeah, things are over now, but please keep playing because you got a cool new suit. I applaud whoever came up with the idea of the secret ending, someone out there who felt what the players were given simply wasn't enough. But this is like using a band-aid to treat a decapitation. I'm sure the finale scene I'm imagining wouldn't have even been mind-blowing, but you can see it too, can't you? It doesn't matter which character you played the last level with. It's a cutscene showing these 4 characters coming together to mourn and celebrate a bittersweet victory and their second chance at a resolution with their complicated mentor. Dick and Jason have a nice gesture of understanding each other. Tim is comforted by Barbara, but holds his head up high. Alfred looks on at these children, who have risen to the level Bruce always knew they could, and smiles, knowing that even in death, Bruce has won. The Gotham Knights are a force to be reckoned with. That's all this game needed to do. Some sappy, underbaked family reunion, but it couldn't even bother to deliver that. Instead, we don't hear what Alfred or any of the others think about the events of the finale. Their thoughts on Bruce's return and sacrifice are unimportant. We get as quick of a conclusion as possible in a nice 3-scene monologue and jump right back to that sweet open world filled with collectibles and cosmetics. It's a massive letdown, and I think I've moaned about it for long enough. So those are my 3 biggest problems with Gotham Knights. What are yours? Please let me know in the comments and check out my initial review on Gotham Knights here. Thanks for watching, and take care.